Okay, dealing with the same basic subject matter, what obligation will you undertake to make sure approved plans are working, the safety of the public is not jeopardized, and projected savings are achieved?
Well, it's another big question there. Can you break that down for me? I'm sorry.
Sure. What obligation would you personally take under your advisement, if you will, to make sure that approved plans are working insofar as public safety is concerned?
Okay, well that's oversight. When I was on the council, I did a lot of independent research, and I was out in the field. I would routinely roll up to incidents and find out what's going on. Okay? So definitely being active and being proactive as far as my personal commitment and time, getting out in the field, being with the crews when I can, when it's safe, of course. But I think that's important. Building relationship with the firefighters and the police department, I think that's important. So I would commit to do that as well, and do that ongoing, day in and day out. So definitely being out and being involved is important, and I think that would show my commitment to public safety and ensure that plans are followed through.
Do you feel that that what you have envisioned and are suggesting would improve the safety, the projected safety of the public? Or do you feel there's any risk involved? What about projected savings?
Well, I guess I'm getting confused by the question. I apologize.
Okay.
So, take me back.
We're talking about the approved working plans for the safety of the public. Do you feel that what is being proposed?
And again, we're back on the fire department decision. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm totally going big picture on you. So.
Okay, well, let's modify it and say we're talking public safety.
Sure.
Okay, so if we're talking about the same beginning to the question, how is the public safety going to be ensured through the genesis of the new proposed plan that has been accepted, voted on, and approved by the council?
Well, again, this the plan that you're suggesting, and again, this is just a proposal from the city manager, because you cannot do anything without the city of Fullerton's cooperation. Essentially, it says to pull some of the administrative and have a more cooperative administrative relationship with the city of Fullerton. So that's doable. Certainly, you can do that if the city of Fullerton agrees with it. I don't think that sharing those services would be unreasonable. We have quite a few positions, overhead positions that should definitely be outsourced, and that's what essentially we would be doing. So I don't think that public safety would suffer in that particular plan. I think that the whole fire department, outsourcing the fire department issue is it's not going to affect public safety. It's more of a relationship with our personnel and giving them opportunities to improve upon their own training.
What is your current position on the street sweeping parking restriction resolution?
Well, you know, you have to have. We're spending so much time on parking restrictions and signs, and it's just incredible. I think that if we were to spend half the energy that we currently do as a city government and as people, just focusing on more important issues than parking and street sweeping fines, and trying to collect money off of our own citizens to balance your budget, I think that that's just wrong, and it's incredible. So I definitely, one of the things that there's a proposition floating around there to repeal the street sweeping fines, not street sweeping. Of course, we need street sweeping. So let's clarify that. But, I definitely would like to see that implemented, this proposition as well.
Describe the independent personal research you would perform for council agenda items such as the Chevron solar project.
Well, first of all, that was a sole source bid, and I don't really know why. And I've seen the numbers. I actually visited. I went over to the building site. We're putting up the scaffold now. By the way, bring earplugs if you go over there. It's very loud. But you know, Edison. I used to work for Edison 7 years, as a matter of fact, and Edison's been doing this, you know, for 20 years. They've been after this, doing alternate energy and following that longer than that, but really, you know, focused on it for the last 20 years. So going to a sole source contract when you have Southern California Edison out there that do it as well, I really don't understand why we do that. So as far as independent research, when I first got on the council back in 1998, we had a series of file drawers. As a matter of fact, they're right outside of my office, and I could go to those file drawers, and they had the whole history of every council decision and notes, handwritten notes from the city manager or the city council members. All of the backup work to every decision was put in these file drawers under subjects. So I could go and research that information. And that, my first year on the council, that got pulled out because I was doing independent research. So I would definitely seek to have that type of system put back in place where I, as a councilman, don't have to write down my question and hand it to the city manager, and I also have to wait 3 days to get an answer back. It's
10
ridiculous.
days.
So I would change that and make it available to all council members to do your independent research and have those notes available. Keith, you got to smile a little bit. You're making me nervous there. I can't read you.
The camera's on. How would you identify practical ways, this is your favorite topic, I know, to spend redevelopment money that will actually benefit the Brea residents?
All right, so redevelopment money. I could spend an hour on this, but I got to keep it short. Redevelopment money is used to eliminate blight and to help the community help itself. I guess is a good way to say it. Okay? And I think that we're using it for it. Okay? Because we will fix the center. 10 years later, we'll go remodel that center again. Okay? So it seems and appears that it's the same people getting this pot of money. Okay? So I think that needs to be reviewed. One of the practical ways that we can use money, redevelopment money in particular, is we're spending $250,000 painting the sidewalk blue. Okay? I think that's a complete waste of money, and I don't agree with that. I didn't agree with it when we did it 10 years ago in the downtown, and I don't agree with it right here on Birch Street. So that needs to be looked at. I believe Mr. Simonoff just supported doing the crossing guards on Birch Street. I brought this up a couple weeks ago myself to the newspaper, that you know, we could use, if you have this fund of money, it can go to any type of services that helps the community, and you can supply positions like that. So here we are, secretly or quietly, we disbanded the crossing guards in front of Laurel Elementary School, which is unsafe, because that's a main thoroughfare for our city, and we could use money to fund that, for example. That's a practical way to use that money.
Okay. Brea currently has $5.3 million on IT services costs, which breaks out to $120 per resident versus the expenditure of $10 by our neighboring cities. What is your position on the Brea IT department, and the value we receive for this expenditure.
Okay, so let me review. You have $120 per person compared to La Habra, who has $10 per person. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
All right. So I have here some information that was handed to all the candidates. This is a candidate book. It has some of the costs involved in the budget, projected budgets. So, what was the number you gave me? 5.3 million?
That's correct.
I apologize, I'm not familiar with that number. I have the information that the city has given me is external support for IT services, 1,259,000. So I'd have to look into that, where that number is. If that number is correct, that seems way out of line. But again, I'd have to do some research on that, verify that. The number I got is $1.2 million.
Okay.
I hope that's not all going to the parking meter in the downtown.
I feel that, Steve, this will be addressed in questions from the audience after we're finished.
Sure, yes.
Okay. Would you support an audit of the Brea IT department?
Well, I'll support it. I audit anything that if there's a need, and there's always a need for audits. So the first thing I would like to do, I've been away from council for 8 years, is to find out how we went from a $27 million budget to essentially a $57 million general fund budget. It seems to be a huge amount of growth. So the first thing I would like to do after being away from 8 years is to dig deep into all the financial pots of money in the city of Brea and audit everything. So definitely I would be looking at this IT budget, and I'd be interested to know why the city's showing me 1.2 million and you appear to have numbers of 5.3 million.
Okay. I'm not sure if you I don't believe you were at the last council meeting, perhaps you saw it on Channel 3, where one of the Brea residents took issue with the city's handling, if you will, of the Boys and Girls Club project. What action, if any, would you suggest, or would you suggest a council take as it relates to the way the Boys and Girls Club project has been handled in the city of Brea?
Yes. Well, the issue, the Boys and Girls Club project has been, the issue's been around for quite a long time. I was a former president of the Boys and Girls Club of Placentia, as a matter of fact, back in 1995. So I'm very familiar with the operation of the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm a big fan of the Boys and Girls Club. I helped at one point doing the remodel over there. But this issue came up when I was on the council, and Tom, I've lost track of time. Was it 2001? No, we're good. 2001? 2001. Yes, 2001. The decision was made to put in the Boys and Girls Club at its current site. I voted against it then, and it was a tough decision for me because I am a big fan. But it was just way overbuilt. It was oversized for the site, and that has caused the delays because with this size, they've had to do extra fundraising, and it's just gone on and on and on. So a decision and a project that should have been handled within a year back in 2001, I would have loved to go to that ribbon cutting, but here it is, 9 years later, and it's still an issue. It's still floating around. So that's a problem when if you don't plan from the beginning correctly, bite off more than you can chew. This is what you end up with.